Remember as a kid, jumping, swinging as if you were a gymnast? Take a second, think back to the schoolyard, and visit our playground today in St. Petersburg. It's a new day for Russia's children to play. Youthful exuberance and ebullience taking form. A metamorphosis of ambition. Growing up with dreams of future success, future gold, an incomparable belief that someday I can be the best. Today, some of Europe's finest will fulfill that childhood destiny and be crowned. It's a day of enshrinement. It's another resplendent and golden sunrise in St. Petersburg, Russia, the city named after Peter the Great. And Peter and Paul Fortress, which rests on the banks of the Neva, a bastion of strength and former guardian of the city. The venerable edifices around St. Petersburg give testimony to its rich history. It's a window to Europe, and today we peer through that window and into the world of gymnastics at SKK, the St. Petersburg Sport and Concert Complex, for the 1998 European Gymnastics Championships. Hello everybody, I'm Mark Jones. Make no mistake, the European Championships is the most prestigious meet on the gymnastics calendar this year, with gymnasts competing for both team and individual honors. Bart Connor, the talent level here is beyond reproach.
And Mark, we really have some of the biggest and hottest names in women's gymnastics here to compete, like the dramatic Svetlana Horkina from Russia, also the explosive Victoria Karpenko from Ukraine, and the steady Simona Amanar from Romania. Now they'll all be competing for the prestigious all-around title, which has been won by so many greats in the past, like Ludmila Teresheva and even Nadia Comaneci.
Your wife, the only three-time winner at this competition. We'll get to the women a little bit later. We've seen 3 rotations in the men team competition. Some interesting storylines.
And right off the bat, Romania started on the vault in the first rotation. This is an event where they are terrific, and it's also an event where the scores tend to be the highest. Dorian Petcu had their highest score with a 9.562. Russia opened the meet on the rings. It's not their best event, but 19-year-old Russia's superstar Alexei Bondarenko showed adequate strength work, but it was with this terrific swing combination at the end of his routine that helped him earn a 9.562 for Russia. In the second rotation, France's Eric Poujade, an Olympic finalist in Atlanta, performed a complex exercise, scoring a 9.75, lifting France from 8th place all the way up to 3rd in the team standings. Meanwhile, Russia's Alexei Nemov moved to an event where he reigns as Olympic champion, and he scored a 9.5 with this well-executed vault. Russia was in first place after 2 rotations. But it was in the third rotation, Nemov, who had been prone to inconsistency, he botched his parallel bar routine, and Russia had to count his 8.5 into the team total. But disaster struck for Belarus when Vitaly Rudnitsky slipped and crashed. Now, luckily, he was not hurt, but the Belarus team had to count a disastrous 0 into their team total.
Which brings us to the format, the usual one of which is 6 gymnasts per team, 5 on each apparatus, 4 scores count, but this is very different.
It's completely different. This is what they call the 5-3 format. There are 5 gymnasts on the team. Only 3 compete on each apparatus, but all 3 scores have to count. So if you have a disaster like Rudnitsky or even a minor mistake, it can dramatically affect the team standings.
This is Dmitry Karpenko. You know, he was born here in Russia. He used to compete for this country, but now he competes under the colors of France. And he lives in Cannes.
And Mark, this guy is carbo-loaded for vaulting. He's 5'8" and 154 pounds. This is a big boy to do this difficult vault. There it is. Nice. He is one of the few gymnasts in the world to consistently land that very, very difficult vault. The start value is from a perfect 10. His technique is remarkable, and yet he's such a big boy. It looks like a boulder falling down a hill, and yet somehow he lands it perfectly.
And Karpenko's score, a 9.625. Competitors get just 1 vault, so they have to make it count. 6 events happening simultaneously here at these European Championships. We take you over to the high bar. This is Alexei Bondarenko of Russia, who as a junior had a stellar career, and now competing as a senior has maintained that solid pace, and he is the reigning Russian champ, Bart.
And really, Mark, you can see why, because he goes for very difficult exercises. Watch this release here, right over the bar. Now sometimes he adds a full twist into that move. Looks like today perhaps he's going to play it safe a little bit for the team. Keep in mind this is a critical team battle. No scores are dropped. So everyone is hoping to be just consistent and yet fulfill the requirements. Oh, there's a mistake. Now he made a good cover-up, but he left out an important requirement in that routine.
Bondarenka says he wants to become the leader of this Russian national team.
Let's take a look at what happens here. This is what they call a jam to an invert or an eagle giant. He's supposed to go over the top, but he comes up short and has to cover up there. He'll lose at least 4/10 of a point for that mistake.
And the judges may have seen the same thing, Bart. His score, an 8.787. Alexei Nemov of Russia comes highly acclaimed. He needs more than an 8.876 on the high bar for Russia to stay ahead of France. Now, you may notice a lack of people in the seats. Russia and its embryonic free market economy struggling right now, so people having a hard time getting enough money to buy tickets.
Mark, that was kind of the same case 4 years ago when we discovered this young man at the Goodwill Games in this very building. Not very many people in the stands.
Nice opening sequence. Now here comes the most difficult move in his routine right here.
Oh, he's down. Nemov is off, touching the bar and maybe asking why it betrayed him.
Wow, you know, he reached up to grab the bar because when you sling off like that, it goes ping and the bar is kind of rattling. And so not only was the bar rattled, but he was rattled.
And now, Bart, he has, what, 30 seconds to continue?
Right, and he'll lose a half a point for falling. Let's see what happened. It looks like he was just too close to the bar. His arms were bent as he started to swing through the bottom, and you just cannot hang on with those kind of G-forces. Okay, he's going to do it again. Oh, that's what he wanted the first time.
Nemov, undaunted, comes back.
Always stylish and very clean with the rhythm in his exercise. But you know, in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I can't believe I fell. This is the team competition, and every score counts.
Clean on the dismount, though.
Let's take a look at what happens on this release move. He's playing it a little conservative for the team competition, but his arms are bent there. And as he starts to swing through the bottom, you see that ping, he's gone.
And Nemov score an 8.837, so he didn't get the 8.876 that he was looking for. As a result, the standings after 4 rotations, France 0.039 ahead of Russia. Then it's Germany, Ukraine, and Romania. They're playing Stars and Stripes forever here in Russia. We're going to throw it back to our Wide World of Sports studio and Robin Roberts. Robin, who would have ever thought Stars and Stripes forever in Russia?
ABC Sports presentation of the European Gymnastics Championships. Brought to you by Nicorette Gum. You can do it. Nicorette can help. Hershey, the great American chocolate company. And Excedrin Migraine for migraine pain relief.
Time now for Alexei Bondarenka and the floor exercise of Russia. Some of the pictures you're seeing today are provided to us via Russian television, and we'd like to extend a very hearty thank you for their warm hospitality.
Mark, when you watch Bondarenka tumble, he reminds me of a bird with hollow bones. He's so quick and precise, just a little low right there.
Not that much room for error, because just a few moments ago, Bart, his teammate Dmitry Lvov scored just a 7.825 in the floor exercise.
A lot of pressure in this unusual format, team competition. Nice sequence right there. We'd also like to take this moment to wish happy Mother's Day weekend to all the mothers out there, and especially our friend and colleague Kathy Johnson-Clark back in California, who would normally be here with us commentating, but she's home with her brand spanking new Sean Patrick, just 5 weeks old. Congratulations, Kathy and Brian.
You can see gymnasts in the background and competing in other events simultaneously.
Oh, and a great finish for Bondarenka. Beautiful landing. You know, he's only 5'2 and a half, 112 pounds, so he's like 40 pounds lighter than Nemov and Karbanenko. But this tumbling pass here, although it's not the most difficult one in the routine, it's the most important in terms of bonus points. He earns 0.5 of a point bonus.
Over to Sergei Harkov of Germany in the vault. Bondarenka's score, meanwhile, on the floor, a 9.612. Harkov used to compete for Russia.
He's 27 years old. 10 years ago, the Olympic champion on the floor exercise at the Olympics in Seoul. Oh, nice landing. He nailed it like a dart going into a dartboard.
Sergei Harkov, another Russian competing now for a different country. A few moments ago, Alexei Nemov of Russia inauspiciously and ignominiously departing from the high bar with a low score. Now in the floor exercise, Bart, this is really where he shines.
Yeah, this is really where he's going to show his class and his elegance. I'm still trying to look up those words. What'd you say? Inauspicious, whatever. Anyway, he is really a stylist here. And yet he's had a rough competition. This is his first full all-around competition since last year's World Championships last fall. We saw him struggle on parallel bars. He fell off high bar. Hard to fall off the floor, I guess.
I like that little breakdance move in his routine. Harkov, meanwhile, with a 9.287 in the vault.
Watch this move here. Shows, even though he's a pretty good-sized guy, watch how quick he is when he rebounds right here. Boom. Very explosive at the same time.
Or you think back to his great performance at the Olympics, the gold medals. You wonder now if that was just fool's gold, because he hasn't come close to realizing that potential since.
I know he's disappointed you here, Mark. He's really even watered down some of his gymnastics. He's trying to upgrade some of the difficulties. He lost some weight, and he's trying to get in better shape, get refocused since the Olympics. He had a shoulder surgery last year, and yet look at the power and the height that he can generate off that spring-loaded floor. These are the Thomas flares. His hips are so high above the floor, very impressive, and he goes up to the handstand easily, keeping the rhythm. And that little part there, I know that's the part you like, Mark.
Nemov's score, wow, he lived up to his billing and hype, a 9.762. And let the hype begin for the Indianapolis 500, a preview tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern Time, 3 Pacific. Dmitry Karpenyenko ready to attack the parallel bars. France is on the cusp of a special opportunity. This would be their first ever European Gymnastics Championship for the men. And Dmitry Karpenyenko is the beacon of hope to take them there. He has to score higher than a 9.535 for France to stay in the lead.
I tell you, when you watch him perform on the parallel bars, you actually feel sorry for the parallel bars. He just beats the heck out of these things. He's big, he's powerful, he's very hungry and aggressive. That's what he brings to this French team. They were always very good technically, but he brings a desire. Look at the intensity in that landing.
Dmitry Karpenyenko.
Let's take a look at how he just destroys these parallel bars. At 5'8" and 154 pounds, a lot of people think he looks like a middle linebacker. TV makes you look bigger and stronger and thicker than you are. But that focus and that drive, that's really what he's bringing to this French team. That was always quite good, but now they're terrific because of him.
Bringing leadership as well as a 9.575. And that's enough to keep France in the lead. Just 3 1/1000ths over Ukraine, Russia, Germany, and Romania, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Back to St. Petersburg and a look at the Russian Museum, the home of many immaculate works of art, including Karl Brulov's The Last Days of Pompeii. Bart, that thing is huge.
Yeah, I don't know how they got it inside that museum.
And this is Eric Poujade of France up on the high bar. France leading heading into the final rotation. Poujade, Bart, more known as a pommel horse competitor.
That's right, 2 times a silver medalist at the World Championships. He already contributed a 9.75 to the team over there. He has some good combinations here. Watch this in-bar, pirouette, in-bar, pirouette again. He earns bonus points for connecting those elements. Nice high release.
He's so tall and angular. Helps him, doesn't it?
It does, but you notice his toes are not really very well pointed. That distracts from the entire body line. The judges will take off a little bit because the entire form and presentation isn't as clean as some of the other gymnasts here. Nice landing, though.
Eric Poujade. The French team trying to put the team title out of reach from the Russians. And it'll be up to the last competitor for France, Dmitry Karbanyenko, to punctuate the perfect homecoming for him and win their first ever team title. And it'll take an imperturbable will of steel.
Russia. France.
In my soul, I'm Russian, but now I am Frenchman.
Dmitry Karbanyenko was born outside Moscow. As a promising young gymnast, he was brought to the Russian Gymnastics Training Center and proudly competed for his motherland until he fell in love with a French journalist named Astrid.
She comes to see us for take some interview, and I meet her. She meet me, and it's we turn so quickly.
They married in 1994, and although Dmitry loved Russia, the couple soon moved from Moscow to the south of France.
When I arrived in Antibes, on the French area, for me it was a little bit difficult because when I was in Russia, it was a totalitarian regime. And in Antibes, everything is okay. Every day, sun, everything good. People on the beach, in restaurant. It's a little bit difficult to do gymnastics because you must say in yourself, you must go in the hall.
He tried to live in France and compete for Russia, but he was unexpectedly left off the '96 Russian Olympic team by head coach Leonid Arkayev.
Normally, I must be on the team. In Russia, it's Arkayev who take decisions for everybody, from everybody, and for everything. And but you know, I don't go to Atlanta because it's he who take decision. But now it's past. Now I can show him what maybe it was mistake from him.
Dmitry became a French citizen in August of 1996 and joined the French national team. In switching teams, he gave up the prominence of the Russian team name recognition, but he gained the chance to become the leader of his new team and in a way rejuvenate his own career.
Ironically, one of the last times that Karbanyenko appeared in Russian team colors was 2 years ago at the European Gymnastics Championships. Now he returns as a prospective conquering hero wearing French colors. He is the last competitor here on the high bar.
And watch how aggressive he is. Double over the bar. He's got one more of those coming up. Here it is. Oh, yeah, nice. He's a really popular figure in the gymnastics world because he goes for tricky combinations. Look at this, 1.5. He's short a little bit. I can't believe he muscled that out.
Strength always a factor with Karbanyenko.
He is so aggressive. He just seems to power. Look at the triple.
Dmitry Karbanyenko, what do you think? Good enough, Bart?
I don't know. I think it's good that he had those guns. Look at those things. They came in handy. It's like he pulled the whole building underneath him to get over the top of the bar.
Just a few yards away, his former coach, Arkayev, and former teammates and friends anxiously await his score, as does Karbanyenko. Meanwhile, Poujade scored a 9.262, Bart.
And Mark, this is the critical part in the routine right here. He does a 1.5 twist over the bar. And watch this. Now, he comes up short, and I swear if there any moisture in the bar, he would have just squeezed it out. We better go up there and check to see if he left his fingerprints in that hardened steel.
Yeah, he's that strong. His score, meanwhile, a 9.412. But the question begs, will it be good enough to keep the French ahead of the Russians? When we return, we'll find out if the reigning Olympic champs can march towards a European team title here. We'll return after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
Gymnastics Championships on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
When in St. Petersburg, a trip to the Hermitage is mandatory. It originally started off as Catherine the Great's Winter Palace. The Russians poised and ready now. The Russian team feeling these last moments of finality. This is their last apparatus, just 3 gymnasts to go. And here's Alexei Bondarenko. They've got to average 9.3 or better to surpass France.
Very nice opening sequence there.
This is a good event for him, isn't it, Bart?
It sure is. He's the Russian national champion here, and typical for him, he has maximum difficulty on every piece of equipment. Little form break there. His trademark, though, is really precise technique. Good form. Very aggressive through the finish.
His expression never changing. Alexei Bondarenko.
Let's take a look at this sequence when he travels back to the end. This is what they call Russian Moors. I'll tell you one thing, I don't think the Russian guys thought they'd be up against the wall here against France in Russia.
Meanwhile, a few yards away, Dmitry Karbanyenko pacing as if to be a nervous father in the maternity ward, right now awaiting the birth of a team championship. Bondarenko with a 9.525. Alexei Niemov's portfolio contains both performance and potential. Sometimes the two do not equate. They have to right now for Niemov and Russia. The last 2 competitors must average 9.182 or better, Bart. That's attainable?
Oh, look at this. He's off. I can't believe he's standing on the floor.
And that puts Karbanyenko and France that much closer to a team title.
Wow, and he was just getting into his routine. He's had some trouble today. He fell off the parallel bars. He fell off the high bar. Was strong on the floor, as we saw. This is a shock.
And that's going to put even more pressure on Kryukov, who's next.
I know Niemov is thinking, I can't believe I fell off. Good finish, but he is shocked.
And Dmitry Karbanyenko probably can't believe what he saw either.
Yeah, you don't expect Niemov to fall off the horse, especially in a heated team competition like this.
The 2 former teammates and present friends who've trained together, sweat together, worked together for so many years, now following different paths.
Let's see if we can spot what happened. This is what they call the Russian Moor. You know, you're a Russian, you ought to be able to do the Russian Moors, don't you think? It looked like a very simple mental mistake. He should have been able to stay on.
His score, an 8.725. What does that do for their chances, Bart?
I'll tell you one thing, certainly Niemov had a disastrous day. He missed 3 of 6 events. It'd be like Michael Jordan having a lousy game and then missing a couple of clutch free throws at the end. It puts them in a very awkward situation with this young man coming up next.
That young man is Nikolai Kryukov, just 19 years old. There have been several occasions where he says he looks towards Niemov for inspiration. Well, that last performance by Niemov was devoid of any inspiration.
I'll bet right now he's thinking, hey, thanks a lot, Niemov. It's all in my hands.
Kryukov is an Olympic gold medalist, Bart, so at 19 he might have felt this type of pressure before.
And this happens to be a spectacular event for him. He has plenty of difficulty, nice technique.
He needs more than a 9.639 for Russia to win.
Oh, and this is just terrific. Watch how many times he travels across the horse, back and forth at the end of the exercise. All he needs now is a clean finish right to the handstand. Oh, it's going to be in the hands of the judges now.
It's up to them. And the French team thinks that the gold is in their hands right now. Celebrating. But is it premature? The Russians think they have it won.
You know, we talked with Kryukov before the meet about honest judging. He said it never existed and probably never will. Well, he did a great routine. It is in the laps of those judges right now.
And Kryukov's score is not enough. It's a 9.625. That means that France has its first ever men's European team title. Niemov may be blaming himself right now. So it's retribution for Dmitry Karpenyenko as France defeats Russia for first place by 14 one-thousandths of a point. Germany in third. Bart is standing by with the conquering hero.
Dmitry, this was a very exciting victory. How important was this to come home and win the way you did?
But you know, for me now, it's I don't know how I feel. For me, it's double pleasure. You know, I don't know how I can say in English, but for me it's twice pleasure for me because I'm Russian. But now I'm French. You know, for me it's credible. It's unbelievable.
A perfectly written script for Karpenyenko. The women are coming up next on our gymnastics playground here in St. Petersburg. Right now, we're going to send it back to Robin Roberts in our Wide World of Sports studio in New York.